Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're on Matthew chapter 10, part 2. And I just want to say if you haven't already read chapter 10 at least once, go ahead and reread it again and reread it a second time so you can get a clear understanding of everything we'll be breaking down. But here's Matthew 10, part 2. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 26, Jesus begins to address fear. Now, this whole chapter, right, is about being sent out. He's warning his disciples, and now he's warning not just the 12, but the majority of disciples about persecution, the kind of oppression, and just the pushback you can expect as being a follower of Christ. This is really, really good for us to understand and digest that even though we're going to be faced with a lot of opposition for believing what we believe, but Jesus addresses the fear we will feel as we go through this, and he wants us to know that there's no thing the world tries to do to us, no matter how much they try to cover it up, that will not eventually be exposed. That there's no level of unrighteousness done in secret that will not be judged one day. So there's nothing the world can do without God seeing it and bring justice to it. And then he says that with that in mind, I want you to take everything I've ever told you in secret, everything I've ever whispered in your ear, and I want you to shout it on the rooftops. Now is the time for you to take every teaching of mine and apply it to the world, to tell it to everyone you can. Do not fear that what the world can do, but understand that everything is seen by God. And a sparrow, right, would be considered one of the least of all the creatures on the planet, according to the time. And a penny is the least amount of a type of currency. We know that. So if you can buy two birds with a penny, and God himself does not miss a moment of those two birds when they die, how much more does he not miss a moment of your life? So in the middle, right, of the world trying to persecute you and convince you that God is missing a moment of your life, when you feel alone, when you feel missed, when you feel empty, know that God knows every single hair on your head. And even when the world has you under a microscope, right, and they're analyzing every detail of your life and makes you feel like they're more invested in you than God is, understand that they'll never be able to know every detail of you like God does. God is way more invested in you than they are. And even if they betray you to the point of trying to kill the body, know that God has the ability, right, to take care of your soul and even to destroy your soul. And that's a scary thing. But the reality is the way Jesus is saying this is he's trying to help you realize that he's taking care of your body and he's taking care of your soul. He's on your side, right? And then he goes on and he says, well, if you deny me, right, I'll deny you. But then if you acknowledge me, I'll acknowledge you before the Father. Jesus is trying to explain to his disciples is do not fear people. Know that in every aspect of life, God is way more important and is way more invested in your life than the world. And it is way better to acknowledge him so that he can boast about you before God than it is for you to deny him. And now he has to deny you, right? Because the world, in a moment, if you choose it, will try to glorify you. But that glory is always fading. But the glory you receive for speaking of the Father and staying in line with Jesus is a glory that's eternal, you know? So that's kind of like what Jesus is trying to get at when he's teaching these things. They're warnings, but through the right perspective, right? Because you're on God's side, know that he sees every detail of your life. Matthew 10, verse 34 Jesus begins a transition of thought from handling fear, to understanding the fact that Jesus' message and following him comes with division. That there won't necessarily be peace because you follow him, but there'll be division. And it can happen to the point of what takes place in a home, where a son and a father are no longer on the same side. A mother and her daughter are no longer on the same side. And you see this division happening even in the most intimate place, and that's within a family. And the reason for that, it ultimately comes down to a side that says he is worthy and a side that says he is not. A side that says, I will give him everything, and a side that says, I just don't think that's necessary. And that's the instruction, the explanation, and even the warning Jesus is giving. If you pick up your cross and follow me, right, then you're declaring that I am worthy. If your family and anybody else in this world, or anything else in this world, is more important to you, then you're considering me not worthy. And that's the line that people find themselves on. That some things to them is just, when it comes to God, isn't important. But to others, everything is important to them because of God, right? Every aspect of their life is in surrenderance because God is the all in all, while others are saying, well, whatever. It's kind of whatever. And it does take a conscious decision to give up everything to follow him. And this is a really tough teaching. I mean, this chapter is really tough. To be a disciple, right now, Jesus is talking about giving up everything. Absolutely everything, including family, to follow him, no matter the cost, because he is worthy. And Jesus isn't just doing this because he's a wise man. He's saying this based off everything he's done up to this point, from healing the sick, casting out demons, raising the dead. I mean, even seas and oceans obey him when he speaks, peace be still. There's so much happening around Jesus' ministry. He's proving to the world that he's not just anybody, but he's God. He's what the world longs for and waits for. That there's nothing in creation that is worthy. That he is the one who creates. So how can anything that is created be greater than the Creator himself? This is how Jesus is trying to help people understand that he's worthy. And this is why this instruction to his disciples is so difficult to hear and so difficult to receive, because unless you're willing to follow him and give him everything, you will always live your life in opposition. So you have to go and say to yourself, to your flesh, he is worthy in order to be on the right side. Finally, Matthew chapter 10, verse 40, Jesus is concluding his message to his disciples being sent out by saying, anybody that receives you receives the one who sent me, meaning whoever receives me receives the Father, and whoever receives a prophet will receive a prophet's reward. Whoever receives a righteous man will receive a righteous man's reward, and whoever serves even the smallest person, even the smallest disciple, by giving them a cup of water, just even the smallest gesture of kindness, will not lose out on a reward. So the blessing that follows receiving Jesus will not only be seen in eternity, but will be witnessed by every person as the trend follows that, wow, if I receive the Lord, the world will see that I'm blessed. But more importantly, that blessing follows into eternity. And this is the kind of statement Jesus is saying. People who receive me will be blessed. People who receive the people I've sent will be blessed. Even the smallest and the most insignificant, seemingly insignificant ministries, when they are served, when those people are served, those who serve them will be blessed. This is the promise of God. If we go after him, we will receive the reward of the Son of God. So that's going to end chapter 10. Very heavy chapter. I understand that it's difficult, maybe even difficult to understand. Reread it a million times. But yeah, let's just stop there. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next video.